Hello, it's Trisha here, and I'm sitting here in the camper, and the animals are sleeping, and my bird is sleeping behind the curtain. And I want to share a story from when I was living in Eureka, Montana for 6 months in 2020. And this is when I had a lot of really paranormal, I want to say unusual, paranormal, mystical, a lot of Sasquatch experiences, but I also had a really profound experience with a spirit that helped me, I feel. And I helped her. It was an amazing reciprocity, named Darcy. And so, I've had some different times in my life where I have gotten to, in some way or another, connect to a spirit and have a really kind of helpful experience with that person, or make a new friend, or it's always a very beneficial experience. And sometimes it's the spirit is letting me know that they're there and leaving me an object like a rock or some ceremonial plants, or um, they speak out loud so I could hear them, or they help me. And this is on my travels around the United States, and throughout my life. And so, I went to spiritual study school so that I could further develop my inner senses. I have realized since I was very little that I have extrasensory perception. I don't hear a lot of people calling it that in the more recent years, but I wanted to, back in 2006, 2007, I moved down to Southern California in 2006, and I started taking classes in what they called it psychic development. And so I was taking these different classes and going to these different hold on. Sorry. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Hold on a second. I don't know, taking these different psychic development classes, and I don't know, different things in the way of being able to further develop your inner senses, your psychic abilities, your mediumship abilities. Hold on a second. And so I was doing that. And then I went to yoga teacher training in 2008, and that further heightened my senses. And then in 2015 is when I started going to the spiritual study school in North Georgia. And that was so that I could develop my mediumship abilities, and also to be able to connect to people around the world, around the United States, that I might be able to help in some way, or like I was saying earlier, a like a reciprocity, or like a fun interaction in some way. May I be able to help a spirit to have the wanting or the desire to cross over. And I really spent a lot of time in my life on developing the not developing the gaining knowledge in like relationship stuff, interpersonal skills, healthy psychology, dynamics, all of these sort of social, the social and behavioral sciences, because part of me wanting to be able to connect with people, humans, and animals and plants, all that stuff. I'm just saying, like with humans, we have our own, unique psychology. Dogs have their unique psychology. Cats have their unique psychology. And so the interest of psychology, healthy psychology, and then the understandings of abnormal psychology, and knowing that if you're in healthy psychology and whatever the person is in a different psychology than healthy, then it's going to be a different way to interact with that person. And so whether it's a person who has their physical body still or whether they do not. I decided that I wanted to, if it came about in my life that I'm able to help say the right things or the helpful things to a person who no longer has their physical body but is still around, or is just coming back from the other side to just be in the space that they like to be and have a fun interaction with them. That's really fun too. Um so this experience, I moved to Montana in 2020. I got to Eureka, Montana, which is northwest, and it's very north. The border of Canada is connected, is right on the other side of the fence from Eureka, and it's where you cross a border crossing right there. And so I got to really experience the locals. I met a lot of locals while I was there. Many were very nice, very helpful to me, and there were some that were so not nice. And so I'm very thankful to the ones that were very nice, because my plan was to cross the border and go to Canada and to go be taught how to help this guy's business doing expeditions for the Bigfoot community, like where people would go and he had a whole like space in the Canadian mountains with a trailer there and like a research spot where people would come, and then they would go out to areas where the Sasquatch people were and have interactions with them, and that sort of thing. So my plan was to move there and to live at his house, rent a room at his house, and then work for him. But I couldn't get across the border because the border was closed. So I was living in I still had like it in my mind that I'm going to be able to get across, and so I'm just going to enjoy myself until the border is opened. So while I was there, the first part of while I was there, I was renting a room in a house a minute drive from that border crossing. Amazing scenery up on a hill overlooking this amazing view of the Tobacco Valley that is like ancient land where the glaciers went through, and amazing. And so I love to explore hiking wise and driving wise. So I was doing a lot of both, where you go, what's down that road, what's down there, what's over there, what's over there. And so I saw a lot of what I could see of this town, and then the little towns outside of that town. And then I was also doing like 7 times. I drove from Montana into Idaho, through Idaho, into Washington. I did that like 7 times there and back for my dog with her vet appointments, which is a whole nother story. So I'm living at this house, a minute drive from the border of Canada. And there was this neighbor that really did not like the owner of the house where I was staying, because they did not like that he was allowing all these different people to come live at his house, but then also he was building onto his house, and they didn't like that. So this neighbor that was the closest to his house across the street in a little down was very unfriendly to me. Him and his wife were very unfriendly to me. And this one day I was walking with my dog and my parrot, and all of a sudden this dog came running at us. I didn't even know it because it came up from behind me and jumped up high, and I'm so thankful it didn't like grab at my bird. And I think it might have bumped my back a little bit with its hind legs, and then like took running off back to their house. And so the man was in the driveway or something, and so I said, "Hey, your dog is loose," or something like that. I mean, I thought I was going to be having like just a friendly conversation, and he just started like going off on me. Like, it was weird. So I was trying to say, like, what's wrong? Like, I was just trying to like ask him, like, why are you so upset at me? Like, what did I do? And so it kind of started okay. Like, he kind of realized I wasn't wanting to fight with him. And so he's like, well, that guy, he's building on his house and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. And then his wife came out, and then she started like, rah, 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 and then it just totally flipped the switch with the guy, and then they're yelling at me, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden, like, the owner of the house where I'm staying comes out and doesn't really understand the whole context and thinks, I guess, that I'm fighting with these people, and kicks me out. And so now I don't know where I'm going to live, and this town is remote. To get to the closest bigger town is an hour drive through the mountains. So we're out there. So I was like trying to brainstorm, like, what am I going to do? Like, maybe I could just start asking the next person I see, hey, do you happen to have an extra room in your house? Or could I put my tent on your land and like run an extension cord and like whatever? I was just trying to figure out what to do. And so this is kind of a long story. I really want to tell it though. So if you need to listen in, increments, that's totally fine. And I don't edit. So maybe if somebody wants to teach me how to edit, so it's going to be just completely straight through. So, and I haven't told it the whole way through like this, I don't think, to anyone. And so I want to share. It's pretty special experience that I got to have. So one of the neighbors, like a couple houses down, he had a couple horses, and I had walked over to kind of just talk to the horses a couple times. And so stopped for a second I was on a walk, stopped for a second to say hi to the horses. And then I was continuing down the road, kind of a windy downhill. And then there was this pickup truck coming up the hill. It was a gravel road. I mean, we would see mountain goats in this area. I guess a couple days before I moved in, there were bighorn sheep, like, I don't know, fighting, banging heads right in the yard from, where this house was. So pretty neat to see the animals out and about. So the guy was driving slow. So I was like, hi, I'm a neighbor. My name's Trisha. Do you happen to have an extra room in your house? I mean, I was like being like, I've never done anything like that before, but I was like, wow, I need to figure out what to do. And he was such a nice man, this nice older man. And he said, I don't, but Dave, the guy that lives right over there on the corner with the horses, he might. You might want to talk to him. And then he said that he spends a lot of time at this particular restaurant, at the bar, and that maybe you can go talk to him. He might know someone, or maybe you can stay at his house. I'm like, well, thanks. So it turns out, like, maybe the next day, that guy Dave was coming from the driveway on his land from his house to his gate and was opening the gate to come out. And so I was able to talk to him and kind of tell him, what I was wanting to do. And then something like that, I could be like having the getting wrong in the order, but it could have been that first, the guy said to meet him at the restaurant, and maybe I first went to the restaurant and said, is your name Dave? And then I could have talked to him there, this older man. And it could have been that. So I explained the situation to him, and he was listening, and I was like so thankful. Like, he was just taking in what I was saying. Like, he wasn't blowing me off. He wasn't looking at me weird. He was just listening to what I had to say. And then he said to me, would you be okay being in a camper? And I'm like, yes. Because I had thought earlier in the year, like, how fun would that be to, like, the people who, like, travel in their camper, or to be able to live in a camper like that. I think that would have been, I was thinking that would be fun. And so when he said that, I'm like, sure. And he said, I have a camper trailer that I bought from an ex-girlfriend, and it's in my backyard. I haven't ever used it. It's completely fine. Would you want to use that? And I'm like, yes, that would be great. Thank you. So he then called this, there's an RV park very close to the area where I was living, that is also very close to the border of Canada, in this amazing RV park. No one was there, not even the owners, because of the pandemic going on. The owners lived in California. The brother of the husband and their mom lived in Eureka, down the road from the RV park. And so Dave talked to the brother, and then they also talked to the owners and said, would it be okay if we set up the camper so that she has somewhere to live? And I'm like, I was so relieved and thankful and appreciative. I just was like, this is amazing. Wow, this really came together. This is really great. And so, I have my parrot. I have a blue and gold macaw, and she was with me, and then my dog Lucy. And so I got to be the only one staying at this RV park, and I was the only one there for, I don't know, like maybe a month or two. And then the owners came. I met them. They were really nice. They were letting me stay there for free. And the first month, Dave paid the first month for me to live there. And then they let me stay living there until October. And I was really trying to figure out what to do. Where am I going to work? There was hardly, very small town, only so many jobs, only so many places to live. And I did work for a little bit at a company that made herbal supplements for horses, dogs, and cats. That was pretty cool. And then I did serving, not bartending, but I served, like waitress, whatever, at this restaurant for a little bit in town. So, that was helpful. So, the the guy Dave, he invited me over to his house the next night, I think it was. And he was telling me about the ex-girlfriend, that it was her camper. And it was, just the story about her, and that they had a relationship at one point and then just became friends, and then he bought the camper from her and all that stuff. And so the first I don't know, moments that I was getting to see inside this camper, you could definitely tell it was a girl's camper, and there was still some of her stuff was still in it. Um, Silver, I don't know, like utensils and different cooking things and under the cabinets, and like a big selenite crystal, and like, oh wow, she in pamphlets about, this spiritual study school that she had gone to, like learning different energy healing modalities, and her hair dryer was still in, all the stuff that was hers was, it was still in there. And so I'm like, I was so thankful. This really cool, decent sized camper trailer to be in. Like, oh my God, I'm getting my own space, and I get to be in this amazing RV park in this amazing town, and it was just so pretty there. And so I was having a good time with that. And as I was walking through the camper and opening every little drawer and like, ooh, what's in here? And looking around and wow. And like, all of a sudden, it felt like there was somebody behind me that was taller than me, that was walking with me, and that was so happy and excited for me to use this camper. I could feel it. I could feel that. Like imagining like your friend invites you over to their new house, and you're walking around in it, and they're like right behind you, like going, look at that, isn't that cool? Like as you're walking through the house and like into the kitchen, and then through the dining room, and they're just super excited for you to see it. That was like what I felt. I could like literally feel somebody was standing there with me, and that was just this feeling of just so like excited, like that I was going to be able to use the camper, and that it was going to be being used, and it was me, and like it was just such a great experience. So then, he was telling me about that she had died in April of that year. And so now here we are all in like early July. And so I started feeling, okay, it turns out that I came upon, like, let me count. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different locals. Like I didn't know anyone in this town, but I feel like through her, I met many people, but these 5 specific people in town that were totally unrelated from each other, I got to have some form of her passing along some words to that person of something, where she's either like saying something to them about her to them. Like I was being a medium. I was like really getting to use the way that you be a medium for real. Like this is why, one of the reasons why I really wanted to go to spiritual study school, was to truly be able to be a medium between the non-physical person to the physical person. And so I feel like the possibility of, her and me intersecting as I was doing all my driving around town and going up that road and going over there and going over there, and her kind of still like staying around or crossing over and then wanting to come back down. And like, I definitely, I feel like it's the possibility of her helping this all come together for me to be able to have the camper or use the camper, and like, and then me to be able to like, I don't know, like have the urge to talk to this person and like pass along this information, to, you know, one person I was saying like, you know, she is aware now of some things, you know, now that she's crossed over, she now has the knowledge of some things. She's not where she was when her body died. She now has more of an awareness, and she knows now. And so I didn't want to know. I don't need to know. I don't want to know necessarily, what was going on with the person when they were in their body, when they were alive. Because it doesn't have anything to do with who they are now, because they've, evolved. And so, and not every spirit, right? But she had evolved. And so, like, so she died, on a road in the snow. And the police officer who found her, me and him became friends during my time there. And he told me about each one of these people, told me their relationship that they had with her, how they felt about her. She had some personality shifts in her. Sometimes she was very stable and, wanting to do her energy healing and like be helpful. And other times she was, had some mental issues. And she was having her mental issues when she was walking down the middle of the road. And apparently it was not the first time that that police officer had been asked to go find her, or someone had seen her walking on the road and helped her and to get her, back home. So this time in April, she was found on the road. And this, again, like I was saying, this town is in the remote mountains of Montana. So, small town. So I got to have this conversation with him. And I throughout the whole time I was there, a lot of the time I was there, how do I say it? Like, I just felt like she was with me a lot. And I would she would be kind of giving me messages and stuff. And at some point, like, okay, well, let me just say, so with the police officer, he was a sheriff. He was one of the sheriffs in that town. He told me how he helped her a lot, which I said. And it just sounds like they just, because it was such a small town, they didn't arrest people, and they were very good to the community. And so he was very connected to his community. And when I told him that she said thank you, he cried. Like, he really cried. There was tears coming down his face. That he was, so appreciative of getting to hear from her, and for her to be saying thank you for helping me. So each person, I said something different to. And I know that it's hard for some people to understand that, this idea that, um, that, that we continue on. We don't just, vanish. My dog is um, snoring over there. Anyways, so, we don't vanish. We continue on. We just pop out of our bodies and go into another dimension. And sometimes, we, like I was saying, either we either go into the light, go to the other dimension, and then choose to kind of come back down and check out how things are going, but they're still in the other dimension like that. Or they don't go into the light because they still feel very connected to what's going on in their life. And they have some things that they feel like they need to work through or whatever. So, I definitely feel like, for whatever reason, like bigger pictures that I don't know all the answers to, I was, somehow, maybe I felt compelled to go to that gas station and then go to the gas station, and then like that girl sees my parrot and starts talking to me, and she knows her, but I find out that a little later, and then that girl helps me to get a job at her mom's, bar restaurant. Just really interesting, these turn of events that I had while I was there. So Dave, the ex-boyfriend of hers, had some great talks with him, and I told him about my experience in the camper, where I felt like her being behind me and like super excited that I was opening the drawers and looking at things, and I couldn't believe like how much we had in common. Like, she had like a mixtape with like every song that was on her mixtape was a song I liked. It's like, this is amazing. And that kind of stuff. So, I talked to, I don't know if she was a relative of this girl, or if it was like a family friend or someone she knew for a long time, but this younger girl, somehow I was connected with her, and then I talked to her on the phone, and I asked if I could meet her. So we met at the same restaurant where I had met with Dave, and I said, I just feel like I have some things I'm supposed to say to you. I know it sounds really weird. And then I just said some stuff to her about, that she's, more understanding of things now. She's progressed. She knows things now. She's evolved, and whatever else I said to her. I also like brought this selenite. Here it is right here. This big selenite crystal. That was in the camper, and I felt this, compelling feeling to bring it and give it to her. So I gave it to her. This, I don't know who she was, a friend of the family, this younger girl. And after us talking a bunch of times on the phone and in person, she said she felt like I should have this. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love this. I have it with me all the time. And so it just was a really special experience getting to connect with a spirit, a woman named Darcy. And then, so the girl, I cannot remember her name. I'm just going to call her Tammy. Let's say I don't remember her name, but I'm going to call her Tammy. Tammy showed me some pictures of Darcy, and I was like, wow, because she kind of was, well, I'm almost 5'4", and I think Darcy was like 5'8" or 5'9" or something like that. I can't remember exactly her height, but she was taller than me, and she had sort of a slim build, and so that was exactly what I was feeling, was that person's size and sort of shape standing behind me. And so that girl, Tammy, she was the one that was putting the memorial service together. And so she said I could go if I wanted to. And I thought about it, but I decided to not go, just because I thought that would be kind of weird. like this complete, random person. I just was like, I could, like, Darcy's with me a lot. Like, I don't have to go to, the memorial service because she's with me in the car. She's hanging out with me when I go hiking. She's, whatever. And so, while I was at the RV park, I decided to make my own fire pit with these rocks from around the land there. And so I had been learning about doing fire ceremony and also learning about sage and sweetgrass, and there was all this sage and sweetgrass growing all over the place. I was like, this is amazing. So what I did is, because I wanted her to sort of either, carry on to maybe, I did all that I could do. I feel like I did my part by passing on the messages that I was supposed to say to each of these people, and also for them to be able to kind of vent to me what they wanted to say. And really what it was doing was she would be then have, hear what they were saying. And I was trying to say to some of them, like, I don't want to know all the nitty gritty, because that's not gonna, I don't want to know. I don't want to know somebody's, personal stuff. It's not my business. They're not that anymore. They are who they are now. And so this one girl was very mad at her because she had done some horrible things to people, in the town. She had done some horrible things when she was in her not, good side to her. And so, I can understand how she feels. But I just was like, I want to do my best to kind of share that, she is more of the good side of herself is who she is, and even better now. And so that was such a neat part of my experience being there for 6 months, was getting to use these abilities and connect to Darcy, and then get to come upon these locals and have sort of give them some, information like that. So I wanted to share that. I hope this makes sense. It's hard. Some of this stuff is like, to be able to put it into words, is hopefully it comes out, it makes sense. But it really was a special time in my life, getting to go there and to be able to meet someone that, Darcy, she had, relatively just crossed, just left her body, like, what was it, like April, May, June, July, like 4 months before that. And then, I've had where I got to meet a man that died in 1892. I feel like very thankful that it's like making a friend, but they happen to be from a different time. And that's really fun to me, like to be able to connect with people from, over here that are still alive, in their physical bodies, and connect to people that are, from this time, but then, maybe from thousands of years ago, to connect with the ancient people. Wow. So I wanted to share that experience that I had of connecting with a spirit woman named Darcy. So thanks for listening. Bye.